What's
Some movie
car
chases
stuff?
and castings
Car
are
stuff,
sometimes
guys.
too hard to narrow down into one category of style that it can make it at times difficult even to describe to others. That you just have to shake your head and wonder what the hell is going on.
Death Race 2000.
What I just saw. MFP presents 10 what the vehicle moments on screen.
Okay. Number 10.
You finish first, or not at all.
Death Race 2000.
Race 2000.
Death Race 2000 is a 1975 Roger Corman low-budget and a one-of-a-kind film that only Corman's company could have possibly come up with back in the 70s. A coast-to-coast race set in a future where drivers are seen as national heroes and villains, as the sport known as Death Race is one of the highest praised in the US in this world, where the goal is to drive from state to state, running over as many people as one can in order
Nah,
to
it's
score
this
points
top
to
10
win.
what the F moments on
Starring
TV,
Kill Bill's
movies.
David Carradine as
Car
champion racer
scenes.
Frankenstein, and a
This is number
pre-run
10.
Sylvester Stallone as Machine Gun Joe. The film highlights a number of custom cars which Carradine and Stallone did actually drive on the American roads for the film, along with Corman, as a number of the stunt drivers refused to, since they were not street legal and none of them wanted to lose their licenses. The vehicles in this film were heavily modified and were based on kit cars that existed at the time, that were created by automobile designer and custom car builder Dick Dean, such as Frankenstein's Monster, that was a modified kit car Charlevette that was mounted on a VW chassis.
Okay.
Machine Gun Joe's Racer, that was originally inspired by the Manta Mirage, came with a 6-cylinder 2.7-litre Chevrolet Corvair engine with 140 to 180 horsepower output range in either the standard or the turbo-powered version at the end of its initial run in 1969.
Okay.
With several entertaining and creative death scenes of pedestrians, it is hard to pin down the best one, as they seem to be a favourite to different fans of the film depending on who is asked.
Gee, Chrysler, get off the road!
A construction worker who is impaled and run over by Joe from the rear early on in the race, who is unaware of what is about to happen to him while operating a jackhammer in the middle of the street, and leads to a gushing of unrealistic fake blood that only the 70s cinema could have produced.
Test.
This is interesting.
Live TV from 85 plus channels with local sports and news. YouTube TV. Try it free.
Here are some listings for works within 3 miles.
Schwartz test.
Here's
Narga 925. Stuff. Number 9.
Schwartz.
Short Time.
Crazy is
1990.
the best way to describe the entire
What is this movie?
chase scene from the 1990 comedy cop film Short Time. Playing
1990.
on the trope of the soon-to-be-retired cop story, the film focuses on surprisingly named at the time police officer Bert Simpson, who after taking as much care as possible to survive his last days on the force by extra precautions, discovers after a checkup gone wrong he is suffering from a rare disorder that will ultimately kill him. Due to his fear of a lack of financial support for his family after his death, Simpson
SW
discovers that
something.
if he is killed while still in active duty, his insurance will be enough to look after his family's future. What ensues is a dash to try and get himself killed before his retirement in a number of hilarious, be it failed attempts at some form of work-related fatality. After hearing of a chase in progress, Simpson leaves behind his partner and heads off in the then popular service vehicle, a crimson red 1984 Dodge Diplomat, which came with a standard 5.2-litre V8 engine with
Fireball
an optional
engine.
4-barrel carb for the police package, with 165 horsepower and a top speed of 121 miles per hour. However, early in the chase, the car inexplicably switches to a Canadian 1982 Plymouth Caravelle as displayed on the front grille and is used throughout the remainder of the scene. The chase eventually turns into one of pure insanity and fun, as Simpson finally makes a last-ditch effort by getting ahead of the criminals and side-parking in front of their path as a sure way of getting himself killed. The chase comes to an abrupt end in a spectacular crash, yet once again it seems as though Simpson can't seem to catch the break he is desperately looking for.
Can't you idiots do anything right?
Number 8.
Don't you know where we're going?
No, I don't.
Chit Chit Bang Bang. 1988.
A car film that made its viewers
Yeah,
question their
actually.
logic, yet allowed for imagination to take them over. The almost cousin-like movie to James Bond,
R-O.
given the original book the script was adapted from, was written by Ian Fleming, and the film produced by Cubby Broccoli
No
captured
way.
the imagination of many.
Mr. Fleming wrote Chitty Bang Bang.
Favorite to this day.
Person that wrote
Chitty Bang Bang was a 1968 musical
James Bond?
whose plot revolved
Same
around
movie.
a magical car created by a harebrained creator named Potts after saving the then ex-racer from demolishment. Though custom-made for the movie, as there were said to be 6 created by the Allen Mann Racing Workshop, the car used for the film originally gained its inspiration in the book from former race cars from the 1920s, created by wealthy race driver and car designer Count Louis Borowski, who named his race cars Chitty Bang Bang, based on a connection from the post-World War I Zeppelin and Aero 23-litre inline-6 engines which were used to power them. The creative for Film Chitty was powered by a 3-litre V6 Essex Ford engine with around 128 horsepower.
So Ford
and said
engine.
to have a top speed of a little over 100 miles per hour, according to sources.
Wow.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang showcases a number of amazing moments of the time. One of which was the car turning itself into an aquacraft.
This is
The
Bat,
biggest amazing
Butterfly,
moment for Chitty happens
Moth,
after a chase
etc.
takes place to
Mass-
save their kidnapped grandfather, when the Potts family drive off the side
Mass
of the cliff,
female
only for the
anatomy.
theatre to cut to an intermission at that moment. Upon returning to their seats, the audience was treated to a moment where the box-shaped car sprouted wings and flew, leaving the Potts family truly scrumptious and the audience in amazement, thus creating a car and film loved by many for decades to come.
Yes, he certainly is.
Number 7. Fast 7. Fast Furious 7.
A franchise that surprisingly grew stronger in popularity with each new installment after its 4th entry in the series, the Fast and the Furious films have always teetered on a razor's edge of reality and fantasy when it comes to its cars and stunts. It was in the 2015 installment Furious 7 did we see perhaps one of the franchise's most ambitious of ideas, by having a then newly created 3.7-litre twin-turbocharged Flux 6 780 horsepower $3.4 million Lykan Hypersport hypercar created by W Motors jump from one skyscraper to another and then another, all the while the film stars Vin Diesel and Paul Walker try to steal a flash drive from within. Setting the scene in the Towers of Dubai, it was not surprising that this stunt had to be filmed on set pieces in parking lots and studios, as the sheer logistics of this idea was beyond any realm of possibility. In order to achieve this, second unit director stunt coordinator Jack Gill and brother Andy were put in charge to create and film this stunt under the supervision of director James Wan, having stunt driver Steve Kelso drive off ramps, breaking through windows and into the sets. Obviously, to use the $3.4 million version of the car for the scene was not the smart choice, as several still pricey replicas were actually made by W Motors that were ultimately used and destroyed for the scene, having one drop from 60 feet in the air to replicate the climax of the stunt. Seemed to like finally succumb to the actual laws of gravity.
Number 6.
Bat, Butterfly.
Taxi.
Something sexual. The scissors or other.
A priori,
A European favourite, along with an international fan following, the original French version of Taxi, written and produced by famed French director Luc Besson, became a surprise box office hit that would go on to spawn a number of sequels. It was in its 1998 first entry we follow the story of a reckless taxi driver
Peugeot.
Danielle, who teams up with a less than capable police officer to take down a gang of German bank robbers. With a number of amazing chases that will need to be on other lists that could easily make
Peugeot.
this one, it is our introduction to this character and his ride that needs to get its mention.
A Peugeot.
Danielle drives a white
That one
1996
does
Peugeot
look like
46
something
that can
sexual.
transform
Peugeot.
into a street racer within less than a minute, which although looked to be modified to appear as a type of high-performance driver on the outside,
And a
actually
Peugeot.
had a stock standard 2.9-litre Badgers 3 PSA V6 between 109
Peugeot
to
sucks.
210 horsepower and a top speed of 104
Oh, that's
miles per
kinda-
hour,
Mom.
which is quite impressive
Mom.
for a stock family sedan. The scene in which we are first introduced to the skills
This
of
is French, not American.
driver and his ride is when a fair
It's like
South
this is
Sea
Queen
West
Queen
West
Crown Victoria
depends on
in Taxi
catching a flight
USA.
that is departing in 25
Girls.
minutes.
See?
They handed over
So is that
a
weird?
lump sum of French to get the job done.
Right,
Taxi
so-
driver transforms his mundane
This movie came out first.
taxi into its spoiled look as he soon screeches off in an impressive display of speed and zigzag
Wow.
his way through the city streets and highway traffic.
It looks like
Director
girls to
Gérard
me.
Pires, who had been old friends with Besson, was chosen since Besson was already working on The Fifth Element, yet Pires had not
Fifth
directed a
Element?
film before Taxi nearly 15 years, but had ironically been directing car commercials for Peugeot. With the
Peugeot.
scene ending in a successful way in arriving at its destination in under 15
Hey, it broke a
minutes,
speed camera.
Taxi drives off and leaves its passenger in a worse for wear state,
Girls.
and the audience getting its first glimpse into what the popular original French franchise was to offer.
14 minutes 30.
Number 5. Mom, number 5. Name this one. You know this?
After quote-unquote boring and suggestive
Orange Days
films
off.
poster,
Yeah.
his friend
This is number
Cameron's
5 on the list.
61 Ferrari
Guess what, though? They had
250
Taxi
GT
in around
California
1998.
Spider
The
was
movie didn't exist
actually
yet.
made in a replica built for the film. Ferris Bueller's Day Off tells the story of a
Oh, it's a replica, Mom.
He steals a car as an excuse to pick up his girlfriend, as all three friends are away from school and off on their own little adventure in the city of Chicago in this 1980s John Hughes classic. The original Ferrari that the replica was based on had a V12 3-litre engine with 240 brake horsepower and now sells at auction for around $18 million, as only a handful of these treasures still exist
2 months ago.
today, with just over 50 being made in the early 1960s. The replicas made for the film that were said to number at around
Ooh, Sears Tower.
by Medina Design and Development were reported to have engines that varied from 289, 302, and 427 cubic inch V8s according to different sources.
Oh, so you're using
After
full.
poor judgment leaving the vehicle at a city garage where it was taken for another stolen joyride, adding on an additional number of miles, now adding up 175 extra to the odometer, the panic began to bring the miles back by reverse gearing and placing the car on a mount in its garage. After failing the attempt and having a personal meltdown, the character of Cameron beats on the Ferrari out of anger against his father and his love for it. Not knowing what he was causing, by the end of his rampage, the Ferrari falls off its jack and reverses out of its glass-surrounded location, down from a high level, landing into a ravine below, ultimately destroying the car and leaving audiences and car lovers
Oh,
shocked
no.
to the point of thinking and complaining the producers wastefully destroyed a classic car for a film, which luckily in the end they did.
They can't destroy a Ferrari.
At Cracker Barrel, we
Those
know
are-
that
those are rare-
cheese you
those are rare
choose
cars.
makes
Now
a
that it's
difference.
sitting this
That's
other
why
way,
we went to sunny California
The
to
proper
choose the
way.
finest of smoked provolones.
Yeah.
New black ribbon slices. Cracker Barrel. Cheese.
Almost done doing
wisely.
this, then I'm gonna do.
it's a crab, lobster, or sea creature, spider or caterpillar,
Okay.
rabbit head,
Christine.
Show me.
look
Christine.
like a rabbit head, something sexual,
With Stephen
no,
King's novel telling the story of a killer-possessed car going on a murderous rampage, it would be hard to imagine there would not be at least one or two shocking moments in this 1983 film adaptation of Christine. One of the highlights in the John Carpenter directed movie car
Polyvision.
is the moment we, the audience, and the character of Arnie Cunningham see for the first time the full extent of the seen-on-screen version engine, unlike some of the others used in production. 5.7-litre 305 horsepower Chrysler V8 1958 Plymouth Belvedere Fury, as she self-repairs after a brutal demolishment at the hands of bullies, set out to destroy it for payback against Arnie. To sell the scene, John Carpenter wanted actor Keith Gordon to play the moment as though an erotic performance was about to take place between two lovers, and has the actor watch in pleasure at the sight of his dream machine repair herself. With the music score of saxophone blasting Harlem Nocturne by the Viscounts
Okay.
played over the scene,
Ooh, Amy
you see
Record.
all-in
Ooh,
camera
Amy.
visual effect as Christine repairs herself. This was achieved at the suggestion from special effects supervisor Roy Obergast, who suggested hydraulics and reverse camera speed work used to create the effect to see the cherry red V8 repair herself as her lights shine brightly onto the character of Arnie's face as he watches on gleefully as his beloved returns to a perfect former self.
Number 3. Oh. Yo,
With
shit.
Spider-Man
James Bond.
being the 1977 entry of the James Bond franchise that within its over 50 years of history has more than its fair share of insane car moments.
I still can't believe Wichita owns it.
Whoa!
Whoa.
For your eyes only.
Don't remember that.
A propelled ice chase in the living daylights, or even as an invisible car in Die Another Day.
Seen that one.
Perhaps one of the most incredible moments in the franchise when it comes to its cars and their gadgets.
I got some like this.
1976 Lotus Esprit
I got some like this, Mom. See my car? Mine's blue, though.
It's drives off an
shop
entire
brand
pier
for
and into the
maintenance
Mediterranean
service.
waters and turns itself into a submarine like.
I didn't buy nothing.
no, I'm just saying,
Shop brand? I don't know.
for maintenance service.
Midas? A shop brand like fix your car?
Yeah,
Midas?
I don't know how to spell Midas.
Jiffy Lube? A garage? I don't know, Midas, Jiffy Lube? Why? Taking a test?
With a 2-litre Lotus 907 4-cylinder engine at 160 brake horsepower output range and 138 mile per hour top speed, this was the introduction of a new James Bond car for a new James Bond in its then 10th entry starring Roger Moore. Provided by Q Branch of MI6 for 007, the Lotus was a replacement Bond vehicle for at least 2 films, standing in for the 1963
What?
Aston Martin DB5 that had been made famous by Sean Connery in Goldfinger and Thunderball. Being given the title Wet Nellie in submarine form, constructed by Perry Oceanographic Incorporated as an homage to Little Nellie, the autogyro flown by Connery in You Only Live Twice.
Yeah, but I have one. Wait,
now
looks just like mine. So mine has 2
surface-to-air
colors.
missiles, along with a black dice slick device, mines, torpedoes, to help with the escape of 007 to go off and emerge in perfect form on an Italian beach.
Number 2.
With the film wall-to-wall
Blues Brothers,
that breaks
1980.
so many rules of common sense and physics,
Blue
it's
Brothers.
almost impossible to narrow down just one moment
1980.
of the top madness in the 1980 comedy classic The Blues Brothers. However, during the midst of what can be described as an insane chase scene through the streets of Chicago, Blues Brothers Elwood and Jake, driving their 1974 Dodge Monaco with a 440 V8 ex-police vehicle, are able to evade being captured by what appears to be the entire
Damn!
Chicago State Police Force in pursuit. Eventually, they're soon also chased by a group of neo-Nazis they encountered earlier, with the lead driving a red 1977 Ford Pinto aiming to chase some
Wow,
shooter
the
down.
wagon.
When the chase makes its way to a bridge that is still under construction, the Blues Brothers are able to somehow by magic reverse their car into a backflip and over the Pinto and land on all four wheels now facing the opposite direction, while the Ford flies off the edge into what appears to be an almost height of infinity as we see it fly through the sky before descending from an incredible height, eventually landing and crashing through the asphalt, leaving behind a great big pothole in its wake. In order to achieve this, director John Landis had the Pinto attached to a helicopter, raising and dropping it from an altitude of 1,200 feet, which required the Pinto to gain a special airworthiness certificate from the FAA to confirm that the Ford was not somehow going to fly, be it under its own power or through aerodynamic gliding, as it was dropped over an area in the city with no buildings, used to store salt for winter snow usage on the Chicago roads. In a film sprinkled with a number of jaw-dropping moments, this was one where just the idea alone of dropping a car from such
Oh, I've seen this part. I've seen this part before.
Film moments in cinema history.
Where they run up all the stairs.
When you're the best, you do things with style.
Who better to top a list of WTF moments on screen if not
Chuck
the man
Norris.
himself, Chuck Norris, in the 1983 action classic Lone Wolf McQuade. Although not the most technically complicated, it will be a fantastical moment on this list.
Old Dodge
The
truck.
for this scene for fans comes
Old
from how
Ram.
ridiculous yet overly fun it plays out. Already established as containing a special type of supercharger early on in the film, the lead character of
Old
Texas
Dodge
Ranger
Ram.
J.J. McQuaid is shown driving a second-generation 1982-83 white mightied-up Dodge Ram Charger. Available with limited engine options, the engine used in this film may have likely been the Chrysler LA 360 V8 with 185 horsepower. Towards the end of the second act of the film, we see after a
are
bad police raid and after
48%
putting up a hell of
normal
a typical
that
Chuck Norris
makes
fight,
you
McQuaid is soon
quite
overpowered and
unique.
beaten up further by the
Do
film's
you-
antagonist, played by David Carradine.
friends know?